Introduce yourself.
Thank you very much, Chair, and good evening to everybody who's attending this meeting. I'm Councillor Asim, and I'm the Ward Councillor for the Hounslow Heath Ward.
Karen?
And I'm Councillor Karen Smith, and I represent Hounslow South.
Right, thank you. Now, also here this evening are officers. The first one is the licensing officer, Rita. Can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, good evening, everyone. My name's Rita Pancani. I'm the Licensing Authority Officer representing the case today.
And our legal advisor, Kenise.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Kenise Ali. I will be advising the panel this evening.
Right, thank you. We also have officers acting in a producing role on the technical side of the meeting, but as they're not expected to be involved in the discussions, I will thank them for their help, but won't introduce them at this particular point in time. Right, can I ask if you all muted your microphones? Looks like it is, yep, okay. Members of the public are reminded that the agenda and all the reports being considered by the panel today can be found on the council website under licensing panel meetings page. So if you want to see them, that's where to look. I also want to make sure that all members have seen the agenda and reports. Please speak now if you've not had them. No, I'm assuming you all have. I would like to remind members of the need to hear all of the evidence in each report we're considering, tonight. This is a legal requirement. If you should find you're having technical problems and need to log out of the meeting and come back in again, please let me know as soon as possible. By turning on your microphone and letting me know what has happened. This would be a permitted interruption. We can then decide how far we need to recap, if that's necessary. Finally, I would like to say, any member of the public listening or watching, thank you for joining us this evening. We hope the meeting will go well, but any virtual meetings may suffer from an unexpected technical hitch. So please bear with us. I should also clarify that this meeting is being recorded and will be made available on the council's YouTube channel in the next few days. Contributors to the meeting are asked to remember that they therefore will be included in that recording of this public meeting. Thank you. We now move on to the first item of the agenda. Right. Can I just, before that, sorry, where we need time for contributions, I will ask the legal officer to alert me when allocated timings have been reached. I will also ask her to alert me prior to the guillotine being reached if we've not concluded the meeting by that time. May I remind all members, officers and public speakers at this meeting to introduce themselves each time they speak and also to turn off their microphones when they finish speaking. It's also important to speak slowly and clearly so that everyone can understand what you're saying. Finally, if you're making reference to any agenda documentation, please give the page and paragraph details.
If I may just interject there, Chair, it's Bill, the clerk, just to remind everybody that, as it says on the agenda, the meeting is being recorded and will be posted to YouTube later.
Yeah, I thought I did mention that.
Oh, did you? Sorry, Chair, I missed that.
Never mind. No, I'm
shut up.
I'm just trying to make sure that I've actually clipped together the normal report that comes through by hand and already clipped together. And I've had to clip it together because it came online. So. Right.
Indeed, yeah. Sorry about that.
We're now going to consider the premises licence application for Putt in the Park, Bowls Green Pavilion, Gunnersbury Park. What? I don't know who. Is it just? Sorry, I didn't catch the name of the applicant. Is it just the applicant on behalf?
Yes, Chair, we have Mr. David Beamish for the applicant, and we have Ms. Val Bott and Mr. Jim Storer who have sent in written representations.
Okay. Right, the process for an application with speakers is as follows. The officers to give their presentation on the application. The applicant will then be asked if they agree with the circumstances described in the officer's report. Once we have the agreed facts, we then invite all representatives from the licensing authority, the police or other responsible authority to speak about any submission for or against the application they've made. They have chosen to submit a statement on this occasion. I should add that any officer representing the licensing authority at this stage will not be the one supporting the panel this evening, as this is kept entirely separate to ensure fairness. There will then be a chance for everyone to ask questions of the relevant officers who've spoken. Next, we ask the other persons to explain their submissions, and everyone will give them the chance to ask questions of them. They will be given 5 minutes in total overall. I will then invite the applicants, if they are present, also to speak for 5 minutes in total, and then answer questions from all other parties. There will then be questions of the applicants. I will then invite all parties to sum up their position, with the applicants being entitled to the last word, with their summing up being the last to take place. The panel will then leave the meeting to discuss the case and reach its decision. It will be joined by no one else except the legal officer, who's there to give advice on the law but will not be a party to the decision. Once we've done that, we will return to the meeting to read out our decision on the application, and that will conclude the consideration of the item. Right, we therefore now begin the formal hearing of the case, and I will start by inviting the licensing officer to introduce the report.
Thank you, Councillor. So this evening members are asked to determine an application for the grant of a premises licence in respect of Putt in the Park Limited, Bowles Green Pavilion, Popes Lane, Gunnersbury Park. The application has been submitted by David Beamish, Putt in the Park Limited, Popes Lane, Gunnersbury Park. The application is for the supply of alcohol for the consumption on and off the premises, Monday to Sunday, 8 AM to 2300 hours. The opening hours, Monday to Sunday, 8 AM to 2300 hours. The application did receive representations from members of the public who have been invited to speak at the hearing today. The police did not make an objection, but have suggested possible conditions that could be attached to the licence if granted. The applicant has been invited to speak this evening as well. That's it from me, councillors, unless you've got any questions.
No. Any questions? Anyone? No? Can I just ask the applicant if they agree with the circumstance as described by the officer? This is just to clarify, it's not yet the time to put your case, but it's just to get confirmation of the facts at this stage.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, that's good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Right. Hold on. So my notes are going all over the place here. Can I just confirm, are we now, my notes that were given to me seem to be all over the place. Is the applicant to make their case first, Rita?
Councillor, the applicant will state his case first, and then you'll get questions from yourselves and the interested parties.
Okay, it's all right. Yeah, because I've got two lots of notes and they don't always comply. Okay, right. Okay, Mr. Beamish, then it's up to you to you've got 5 minutes to give us your case, to state your case.
Thank you very much. Just broadly, we have 4 of these outlets in London at the moment. Well, London, 3 in London, 1 in Colchester. This would be the 5th. All of them are licensed at present. Our idea, which I know I've seen a reaction from some people in that we're a Trojan horse and we're there to go parties all night and all the rest of it. That certainly isn't the case. We will only be open during daylight hours. We don't have any lighting there. It won't be, there's no flood lighting. People don't tend to play mini golf when it's dark. It's not possible. Therefore, we shut, as in all our venues. We have one in Acton, one in Wandsworth Park, one in Battersea Park. They all shut either when the park shuts or at dusk. At this time of year, we shut when it's dark at 4:30. That's about the last time we're open. There's no point us being open if there isn't anybody around. We're not there to, don't create, it's not a pub or anything like that. This is for families to go and play golf, or individuals or whoever. But our opening hours are basically, in nearly all the sites, are about 9 o'clock until it gets dusk. Some of the parks that we operate in have opening closing times, and obviously we close when the park closes. There's no point in us being open when the park is shut, obviously. So that is, it's difficult filling out these forms which don't really work with us, because you can't put in it's very seasonal. In other words, it gets dark at 4:30 at Christmas, but in the summer it's open, you know, it can be light until 10 o'clock at night. So we're trying to cover the year round. The park at the moment isn't locked, although that's constantly under review. So if it was locked, obviously we shut when the park is shut. That is it. So we put in those hours just to try and give us some leeway in the summer hours when it's light until 10 o'clock at night. We might be open, or we probably will be. But when at 4:30 in the winter, when it's dark, we're shut. We have to have a bit of time to get out, obviously includes it. So we put in a blanket application to cover ourselves under all those circumstances. So one or two of you, or one or two of the people have said we do parties and all the rest of it. Well, this is quite a small pavilion. There are going to be 4 or 5 tables inside at the most. So it's not going to be somewhere where people can hold parties, because you won't get many people in there. It's slightly different with our site in Battersea Park, which is about 2,000 square feet. So much bigger. This is about 400 square feet. Although you will notice we've been going for 8 years now. We have never applied for a late license at any of our venues, whether that be Battersea Park, Acton Park, Wandsworth Park or Colchester Park. We're not setting out to do that. We're setting out to provide some entertainment for families and people, something to do in the park outside, hopefully in nice weather, which we haven't had much of recently, but in the summer. So I'm happy with what we're doing. What we're doing has helped in other places, as in Acton Park, where before we went there they had a lot of problem with antisocial behaviour. Since we've been there, we've had no problems at all. We have had no complaints for anything on any of the sites, and we've never asked for a late license anyway. So we're not there to try. People have said we're selling alcohol. Yes, we are, but we're expensive. It's not somewhere you would want to come. You know, people want to go and buy cheap alcohol and drink. I can't stop that. There are hundreds of off licenses that you can go and do that on. If you come to our place, you'll see somebody produced, you know, the list of what we offer as drinks, which is across the board, but it's all expensive. So it's not, we're not trying to be a cheap place to come and drink alcohol. It's just so that families or people can come, play a round of golf and have a cup of coffee or a glass of wine, and that's fine. But it's an expensive place to drink, as per one of the objectors kindly put all our price lists in their objection, which shows that I don't think you'd want to go there if that's your intention. With that, I can answer any other questions later on.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Beamish. Can I ask, right, let's see, Councillor Assim, yeah, Councillor Asim's first. Get him alphabetical. Do you have any questions for Mr. Beamish, Councillor Assim?
Just the one, Chair. Thank you very much, and thank you, Mr. Beamish, for your presentation. If I can just draw the panel's attention to page number 26 under the heading Protection of Children from Harm. I was reading a statement that mentioned that it's actually open, the premises are open to school children as well, within a minority age group. So bearing in mind that you intend to have alcohol on the premises in close proximity to the children, how would you guarantee that they are actually protected from harm in that area?
I'm unmute. Well, on all our sites, we have the same thing. We invite schools to come and use the sites to play golf. They obviously have to have their teachers with them. We've also, within that form, you know, I'm a licensee, so to be absolutely aware, we do this. We think somebody's under 25, we ask their age. So we have had no problem at any other site. Children are more than welcome. The demographic of what we do is basically it's about 25% children, 25% families, roughly, yeah, 25% children, 25% families, and 50% all others.
Right. So is the alcohol only in one specific area, or is it, you know,
Yeah, there is.
Okay.
There's a bar area where they will have to come, and we will ask them if we consider their children.
No, I mean,
mostly the
sure.
children also, we ask for them to be accompanied by adults at all times. So we don't let young children with a golf club go on the golf course, because again, that can cause a problem, because a golf club can be, if they start swinging it around, it's dangerous. So they have to be accompanied if they're under a certain age.
Sure. Thank you.
Right. Is that okay, Councillor Assim?
That's fine, Richard.
That's all. Yeah, okay. Councillor Smith.
Okay, I have a few questions, not difficult ones, but do you want them all together, or would you like to answer them one at a time?
Let's see how it goes.
It's easier for me.
Let's see how it goes. If you start flooding us, we'll let you know.
Okay, so you want to do off sales. Could you explain what that's for? I mean, you're a license, you say on and off premises.
Basically, that's put in there that if somebody comes in and they're having a picnic in the park, can they come and buy a bottle of wine off us? I mean, there are hundreds of off licenses around where they can go and buy wine, which I'm sure they'd probably prefer to do than buy it from me, because it'll be quite expensive. I can guarantee that. Okay. So that's the only reason for putting it in. We have in Battersea Park, as a for instance, had people coming in and saying they're having a picnic in the park and they want to buy a bottle of wine or whatever, then we're able to sell it too.
Okay, excellent. So have you got any tables outside?
Yes, we will.
Okay, and so you've got 4 or 5 inside. How many have you got outside?
Well, it's not finished at the moment. It's still under construction. So at the moment, there are none. But we we will be putting outside seating because that's really the only place where there's any room. Inside, as you can be seen by the plan for the cafe restaurant, it's quite small. Yes. And therefore there will be some outside tables under whatever you want to call them, umbrellas type of thing. Yeah.
Okay. On the map, I couldn't tell how far the area is from the nearest houses. Are you able to tell me that?
Well, I think the nearest house is somewhere around 200 metres, 300 metres away. We're right in the centre of Gunnersbury, next to the sports hub. So there isn't any residential around, but the sports hub is next door, which I understand. The museum is about 200 metres away. And the nearest houses are on Pope's Lane, I would suggest, which is, again, about 200-300 metres away. Okay. And we're not going, as I've said, you know, if we're worried about antisocial behaviour, we're not going to be open after dark.
No.
And next door are all the tennis courts, which are floodlit.
Right.
And so if you're worried about noise, I think you might get more from them than us.
Okay. One of the protesters mentioned that the building is like a large shed and they're concerned about how easy it would be for people to break in, bearing in mind you are in the middle of the park, break in, steal your alcohol, for instance. So have you got some special storage or something?
Yeah, we have we have had the, you know, all our sites are in the middle of the park, so all the windows are grilled if they're not going to be shuttered, and where the entrance into the building and out of the building, we put roller shutters, which are on electric roller shutters. So that just creates safety from the point of view that somebody's got to try and smash through that.
Okay. I think my last question is just because, again, an objector raised it. You've not applied for a music license. Are you not planning to have live music at the moment? Right.
No, we don't do that at all.
Okay.
I mean, we have background music on, which we obviously pay PPL, but we're not there to create music. We don't have live music or anything like that, so it's just background music.
Lovely. Well, thank you for that.
Okay.
Right. Okay. I've got a couple of questions. I'm getting quite confused by all these hours that are floating around in this report. There was, I thought I saw something on police hours that suggested a later opening hours. Was it? I don't know. I've seen 11 o'clock mentioned. I've seen 8 o'clock.
Yeah,
mentioned.
Councillor, that's on page 47.
47. My papers only go up to 44. So where would that be? I've got. Is this the? I've got the police conditions. That's the last report on my papers, Rita.
It is page 44, Richard.
44.
Yes.
Right, that's right. That's where I thought. Yeah. For proposed conditions. This is part of the police report, is it not?
It is, Councillor, page 44.
You said you had accepted those. Can I just confirm what that means? Is that right, that there's opening hours, or that's the hour? Sorry, not the opening hours. That's the hours for the sale of alcohol. Starts at 11 a.m.
I didn't see that in a police report to me. The police report was all about CCTV.
Well, it's actually it's above the first paragraph. It says proposed conditions for Putney the Park on their opening hours, Monday to Sunday, 11 till 2300 hours. Supply of alcohol, 11 till 2300 hours, Monday to Sunday. So that's what it says. You're saying that you didn't agree to that?
Well, I didn't see that in the police report. Otherwise, I'd have mentioned it. Mostly the police report was the fact that we had to have CCTV, which we're putting in anyway.
Yeah, well, that's
Yeah.
that's the first paragraph underneath the supply of alcohol. There's about CCTV. In fact, first it's in 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 3. The first 3, and then 5. It's quite CCTV is mentioned quite a bit, but the bit about opening hours. So I'm a bit confused. What opening hours do you consider is the time you're looking at for the morning?
Well, we're open from, as I say, from it's probably, as we haven't opened there, I don't know what it's like, but nearly all our other sites, in fact all our other sites, not nearly, we're open from 9 o'clock until dusk, basically, when it gets dark. There's the only times you want to be open. The reason for applying to yourselves for a license for longer hours than that is to take into account a summer winter change. So it's, as I've said earlier, it's dark at 4:30 in the winter and 10 o'clock in the summer, or whatever the times are. Everywhere else we have a license from 8, I put in 8 until 11 to cover the whole thing. Sometimes we do have companies who come and book into us for their bonding sessions or whatever they do, and we can offer a bacon roll and a glass of Bucks Fizz to some of them if that's what they want. But generally we don't really sell anything alcohol before normal people want to have a drink.
I don't know how we define normal people in that category.
Well, no, that's more difficult. Yes, but you don't often find many people.
Okay, no, I'm just trying to clarify because this is obvious. I mean, we're not bound by what the police say. The committee, we are guided by what they say, but we're not bound by it. We make
that's the only reason for putting it in there.
Yeah. Now, what I would also note, opening hours and supply of alcohol, closing time 2300. I'm just saying 2300 as a situation in this, but they're the same time. Now, normally we would see closing sale of alcohol to finish 30 minutes before closing time.
Sorry, the reason for putting that in again is this discrepancy during the year as to what time the place will close. But in the summer, let's say it's dark at what, 10:30. If somebody has come to us and they're not going to be playing golf after it's dark, and then they probably go home, or they might want to have a drink and go home. We're just putting that in to give ourselves some leeway. If somebody comes around and says, can we play a round of golf in the height of the summer, bearing in mind the sports hub's open until, I don't know what time that shuts, 10:30, 11 o'clock.
Yeah, but they're not your customers, are they?
They're not our customers in event. But if somebody had come along at 10 o'clock saying, can they play a round of golf? And we say yes because it's busy or whatever, and they finish and say, can we have a glass of wine? Then we can say yes. But if we're shut, if it's shut at 10, then we can't. But we're just trying to give the public what they want to do. But most of the time we're not going to be there. We really aren't. I mean, in Battersea, which is a much busier park, we're nearly always shut by 10 o'clock.
Yeah. Okay. Let's looking at that, no super strengths. Can I just? I'm a bit surprised, but I'm not. I should ask the police officers what they mean in their paragraph 11 about the alcohol, no super strength, except premium beers and ciders is supplied in glass bottles. Two things on that.
I think if I may interject, this is something that has come up. We're not there to sell super strength lager at discount prices. If you look at our prices, we'll be expensive.
Yeah.
We are. That's how we do it.
Okay.
We
Well,
don't.
I think what I'm concerned about is in this sense is glass bottles being taken out, being taken outside into areas of the park where if they're broken or dropped or become broken can be of a danger to people with their animals in the park or children in the park. So I'm a bit concerned about glass bottles being outside of the...
Yes, but they can go to Pope's Lane and go to the all-night off licence anyway and bring them into the park. I can't stop that.
No, I know we can't, and I'm not trying to stop what might happen in Pope's Lane off licence. But we don't have any control over that, but we do have some control over what's happening here. And it's...
I mean,
Sorry? Yeah, you were saying something. Sorry, did I interrupt you?
No.
Okay, right. Okay. Right, that's all my questions. Any further questions from Councillor Hassim?
No, Chair, thank you.
No. Councillor Smith? No. Okay, so can we move on to then, let me see. Let's get who we got now. Officers. Yeah, are there any? I don't think there are any officers here. Are there in a enforcement situation? No enforcement officers here.
No, councillors.
No, so we don't have any officers. So that now goes to other persons. So that's another nice name for objectors usually, although there sometimes are people who are supporting. But for the other persons, are there any questions of the applicant from the objectors? Can you switch on your microphone if you wish to ask any questions? Have we still got them with us, Bill? I think we lost.
Sorry, I was talking to you there without my microphone on. Yes, we have.
So I see Val has put her hand up.
Thomas has a hand up.
Yeah. So do you wish to ask questions then, Val?
May I just ask one thing which I found very odd that Mr. Beamish said a few minutes ago? He said he's been saying all through that they will only open during daylight. And then he says, but if people come to us late in the summer at 10 o'clock and they want to play a round of golf and then they want to stay for a drink, we can do it if we've got the licence. Well, the fact is he can't do it if he's got the licence because there is a planning permission condition about when they can operate, and the park closes at dusk and expects people to go. And I think we have a real problem here in that this is an independent organisation bidding for the licence without reference to the community interest company that runs the park. And what I want to ask Mr. Beamish is, what have you agreed with the community interest company about the way you will operate? Because there's so many confusions here about timings and the nature of the operation. And the sports hub closes at 10. They have a planning condition as well, so that the floodlights are turned off because they bother the people in Pope's Lane.
Thank you.
I can answer the best I can to that. I did speak with David Bowler about opening times, and the sports hub is open 6:30 until 10, but they have a license there until 10:30. I presume that's to give them some leeway.
To get people out.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah, carry on, Mr. Beamish.
So I'm very happy if you put a condition on the license, which is the same as with the rest of Gunnersbury Park, that it's until 10:30. That I'm perfectly happy with.
Okay, I've heard that. Yeah. Well, anything else? Val?
No, thank you.
Right. Who was the other? Is it John? Is it John?
Jim Storer.
Jim Storer. Yeah. Did you have any questions of the applicant, Jim?
No, thank you, Richard. No, I just have a concern over the as you say, the confusion over the opening hours.
Yeah, well, if it's not a question, can we leave that to, because you will have the opportunity to make
okay, I do have a question. I wonder if Mr. Beamish had any comment on the, he may have done this already, sorry, about one of the suggestions from the licensing place about the sale of high strength alcohol.
Yeah, I think he did mention, he did answer that. That came from my question as well, actually, Jim. And I think,
well, sorry, so I missed that.
I think if I'm, correct me if I'm wrong, David, but I think that what was being said was that they were, you know, they would not be seeking to go into competition with people outside on high strengths, but that's, you know, that they would be restricting that as that is a condition that's the police have asked for.
So
that is one of them I've assumed that's been accepted.
Yeah. So is the case that that the applicants will adhere to the suggested police condition that there will be no alcohol sold above a strength of 5.5 ABV.
Yeah, well, that is also, I mean, it's not just a police applicant. That is one that we on the licensing committee would seek normally anyway, in normal circumstances.
Okay.
It's a standard one that we would normally put in.
Thank you. So no spirits, no spirits, no.
Oh wine. No spirits. No. This is just purely beers and ciders. It's not, doesn't cover spirits.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks.
Right. Okay. So that's all of the questions. I'll go back, see if there's anything more from members or at all. Anything? Any more on questions, members? Councillor Hassim, Councillor Smith. They all go home when I switch the lights off.
Nothing from me, thanks.
No, nothing. Okay.
Nothing from me either.
Okay. Right. Can we move on then? So we now move on to the objectors, other persons. You've got 5 minutes between you to make your any statement that you wish to make at this time to a presentation.
Not 5 minutes each?
No, it's I have to share it with the applicant.
Sorry, that was unclear. Thank you.
Yeah, no, well, I'm sorry. Yeah, no, we have to be fair and we have to show for the applicant and the objectors exactly the same time.
Just to be clear, Miss Bob, the 5 minutes isn't shared with the applicant, it's between you two.
Okay.
Yeah. So the 5 minutes will start when you start, whoever's going to speak.
So who's first?
Well, it's your choice.
Shall I kick off, Jim?
Yeah, go on, Val. Yeah, go for it.
Okay. I'd just like to begin with a statement. You have our letter from the Friends Committee. There's a key thing in the licensing officer's covering report which says that the premises are in an area of mixed commercial and residential properties, and that's not true. It is in the park, and I think that has a real bearing on what we're considering. Secondly, the Friends, we are experienced in licensing because for 3 years in the 1980s, the Friends ran the cafe, the predecessor of the one that burnt down in 2020. And the licensing magistrates insisted on visiting the park before considering a license application for alcohol. And they granted a license only for the sale of alcohol at functions booked in advance. It was a very strong statement. We have found it quite hard to make sense of the applicants' statements in relation to the licensing objectives because they've used the same argument: health and safety, CCTV coverage and trained staff, as if that covers everything, including children and prevention of crime and so on. And I think we wanted to pick up the fact that they've said nothing about the style or tone of the operation, except Mr. Beamish has just said very forcibly over and over again that it's aimed at families. In the summer evenings, obviously, it will be open later, and there could well be noisy activity because people will be out on a nice summer evening having a drink and some food. But I do think that the notion of when it closes, which should be dusk, is really important because of the contradiction of the planning decision about their premises and about the way the park operates. The police conditions in paragraphs 10 and 11 are very contradictory. Councillor Foote has picked some of this up. Para 10 says that the customers will not be permitted to remove from the premises any drinks supplied by the premises, alcoholic or otherwise in open containers, which suggests they can't even let people take coffee out. Paragraph 11 is the one about the super strength beer. It says no super strength beer, lagers, ciders or spirit mixtures of 5.5 ABV or above shall be sold at the premises, except for premium beers and ciders in glass bottles. And we have considered the point that broken glass is dangerous. They're right next to sports fields, and you, Councillor Foote, mentioned children and animals. We're worried about off sales because this is moving towards being a pub in the park, and I don't think that's what anybody expected when they agreed to put in the park with the old Bowls Club Pavilion as a cafe. In terms of public safety, despite some remodelling and extending currently underway, the staff numbers are obviously going to be very modest. It's a very small operation, as Mr. Beamish said, and CCTV doesn't prevent bad behaviour or risk. It records it, but doesn't prevent it. And something going outside because a customer's drunk too much and hasn't been properly managed by a small team is very hard to handle. And finally, the issue which Councillor Asim picked up, the protection of children from harm. The comments here bear no relation to this issue in the application. On weekdays, families are going to be major users. You see mums in the park with under school age children, and after school, they're in the park with kids on the way home. They come to the park and they'll wish to buy refreshments. They're there in school holidays, and starting to offer alcohol at 11, I think, is still too early. It should be offered only for sale with food to minimise the use of the premises as if it was an all-day bar. I'm going to stop there so Jim Storer has some minutes to speak. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Val. Thank you, Richard. I really have nothing to add of substance to what Val has said. I agree with her, and I appreciate it's not a licensing matter, but I would implore the licensing committee to go and look at the access arrangements to the site. And I know this is something that should have been tackled at the planning decision stage, but the entrance is extremely narrow, extremely dangerous at the junction with Pope's Lane. And the thought of anyone, and from somebody from my background and culture, you know, alcohol is not unfamiliar, but the thought of anyone going out onto out through that narrow entrance and onto Pope's Lane with just a beer inside them fills me with with horror. So I'm very unhappy about this application, and as Val says, I would like to very much like to see something more definite and precise about the opening hours. That's a particular concern. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Right. Can I now move on to questions? So, are there any questions of the objectors from members? Do you have any, Councillor Hassan?
None from me, Chair.
Councillor Smith?
Not a question, but I would just like to make it clear that I know the entrance really well because we used to take our son to the playground at Gunnersbury Park. I just didn't know exactly where the bowling area was in relation to the playground. So I do know how what the sort of the bit that you drive down, I do know what that's like.
Okay. Applicant, did you have any chance, Mr. Beamish, do you have any questions of the objectors?
No, I mean, I can't help the access. The access is as it is, but the and as Val's saying, you know, there shouldn't be. There is already alcohol sales in the park, so I don't see how we're going to make. Well, you at the museum, you can have weddings there and all the rest of it, and there is a license according to David Bowler, there's a license compatibility with our existing park license, which allows the sale of alcohol until 10:30.
Well, that's a part. I don't. You know, we're not dealing with other applicants or other applications.
Well, no, that's David Bowler who runs the park. He's CEO of Gunnersbury Estate.
What you're saying that the park has a license?
Yeah, they have a license.
That's quite possible. They wouldn't operate it, but they would have a license. They would have a license which they would allow people to use. Yeah, that's fairly normal.
Okay.
Right. Okay. Right, I'm still trying to follow my notes. Let's see. So I think we're at the end of the.
Chair, it's Kinneys. I think one of the objectors, Miss Bott, has her hands up, so maybe she's got a question.
Who's got hands up? Val, she's been up all the time, all along. Actually.
No, I just did it. May I make one small comment?
Yeah, go on. Yeah, go ahead, Val.
The CIC has a license which is for alcohol only for functions, and one of the things they do is major events inside the large mansion and the Orangery, weddings and so on. But that's not the same as the sort of license that Mr. Beamish is asking for. It's a completely separate thing, and it's functions only.
Yeah,
I think
that's more or less what I was saying, actually.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Right, let's move on now. That's all those. So we're now right, let's get to the end. Right, we're reaching the end of our presentation, so I'm going to give an opportunity for a short wind up by first the objectors, if you want to make a short wind up, but please just stick with, don't introduce new material, just if you stick with the information, just a wind up if you wish, Val and Jim. Sorry, Jim.
It's all right, Richard.
Right, yeah, if you wish to wind up, as I say, but without introducing new material. Well,
Shall we go?
Yeah.
I simply want to emphasise the difficulty of understanding the scale of the opening hours and the desire to sell alcohol in all through the day in a place which is essentially billed as a family attraction. I think there's a real contradiction. And I think if the licensing can manage that to some extent, so that at the very least the mornings are clear, when the Put in the Park company has said it will have community use and children and so on, that would make an enormous difference. I can see that it is not possible, as far as I can see, for you to say no alcohol, but I do think limiting the alcohol so that it is about the tone and style and family comfort of the attraction, I think that's important.
Right, thank you, Val. Does that cover what you've got to say, Jim?
No, that I concur with Val and Charlie. I'm not. I just wonder about Put in the Park's intentions with regard to special events. I take Mr. Beamish's point about this being a rather smaller premises than most of Put in the Park's places elsewhere in London. But I do have concerns about the the capacity of Put in the Park to accommodate special events for, I don't know, weddings, stag nights, corporate dues, whatever you want to call them, and I can see that there will be applications in the future along those lines, which does concern me.
Yeah, well, we're not being asked to.
No, I know. I appreciate that. Yeah,
to actually rule on that part.
Thank
Anyway,
you.
right, fine. Thank you very
Okay.
much. If I go to David, do you have anything in summing up to say?
The only thing I can add to maybe Val's thing is that yes, we have said we will allow community use of the cafe for whenever it's required for community use. That's fine, but that's going to be on how many days of the year, Val? You know, it might be 10 times in a year, maybe, I don't know, and nobody knows. But the rest of the time we have to try and run a business, and our business model is for families and people to come there on a Sunday morning or a Saturday. Most of the time we're busiest at the weekends on sunny days, and we want to be able to offer what we offer during those opening hours. That's the business model. So to restrict it, to say, sorry, you can't sell any alcohol until whatever, well, I'm perfectly happy. I've made it plain that I'm quite happy we turn around and say 10:30 is a curfew on it, because I don't think we're ever going to get to 10:30. That's not what we're in there to do. So quite happy with that, but to restrict us from having, if we have the only corporate type dues we ever do, as I've said, we've never ever applied for a late license at any venue. The only corporate type things we do is sort of companies that might want to come with a team of 20 people to do bonding, and if they want something before 11 o'clock in the morning, well, I want to be able to offer that. But normally I don't. If you go to any of our other sites, and Jim was saying how the other sites are bigger, Wandsworth is tiny compared to this. It's a third of the size, but we still offer that there. We've had no trouble in the 8 years we've been going there, not at all. I know, I leave it at that.
Okay, thank you, David. Right.
I have a quick question, if
Yes.
that's okay for Mr. Beamish. So when you said that you agreed to the police's restrictions, find the right page. So on page 43, you say, "I'm happy to accept your conditions." The conditions start with starting at 11 o'clock. Did you?
Yeah,
So
we did raise that actually.
I know we did, but I just wanted to be clear about that because
Well,
I understand that you do want to start earlier than that.
Well, we can discuss that. I think it was picked up by Mr. Beamish earlier.
Yes, no, I was just saying because he'd written back saying, "I can confirm I'm happy to accept the conditions." I
Yeah,
just
I know,
wanted,
but he said that he didn't realise that's what he'd said.
yeah, I just wanted it
Yeah.
clear. That's
I
okay.
think that we can.
Yeah, that's the only one. I'm very happy with all the other conditions they put in there. I didn't realise they'd said they didn't want anything till 11 o'clock, but I would prefer it before then. But you know, that's why we're having this meeting, isn't it?
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Right. We. I think that's all now. We're now depart to our conferring room. Can I ask if the applicants and the objectors, if you wouldn't mind staying, we wouldn't expect to be longer than 15 minutes at doing this. If it appears to be looking like taking longer than that to reach a decision, then we will get a message out to you to that effect. But in the meantime, if you wouldn't mind waiting whilst we go off to consider our decision. Okay.
That's
Sorry,
fine. We
Chair.
just stay online, do we?
Yeah, just stay online, yeah, and then we come back out. We're going off to another room on another line.
Sorry, Chair, can I just add my bit in here, please?
Sorry, yes, God, yes, yes, sorry,
It's
yes.
Giddings.
It's all right. My paper that Bill sent through the internet, I think it's got completely screwed up. It's not giving me much of a lead. So my apologies to you.
That's all right. So now that the panel will now retire to go into the deliberation room to consider the application and the representations that were made in writing as well as at today's hearing, the panel has the option to either grant the application or to grant in part or in full, subject to standard conditions with extra conditions in addition, or alternatively, the panel can refuse the application. It should be noted that during deliberation, only the panel members will be present with myself to advise the panel. As the legal advisor, I will not be taking part in the decision-making process, but will be present to advise the panel only. As the chair has explained, usually we take about 15 minutes for the deliberation. If it takes longer, then this will be conveyed by our support team. Thank you.
Right, thank you, Kenneth. Right, so anyway, now I invite my colleagues plus Kenneth to retire to the waiting room. So I'll see you on the other side.
Thank you.
Mr. Starr, it's Bill Lee, the clerk here. You've left your microphone on. Be a
Oh,
good
thank you, Bill. Thank
Good
you.
idea to switch it off until they're back, just in case you have a chat.
Right, we're heading back. Smith. Yes, I think we're all back. Can you turn cameras on? Councillor Smith, Councillor Assim. Yeah, I've got yours, David. You're on.
Yeah, it's Bill here. Everybody's here, Chair, as far as I can see, apart from Ms. Bott, who let me know that she had to leave the meeting. So I'll email her the yes or no, and then I've told her that the full details will be out next week.
Yes or no, or maybe, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Who was that left? Sorry. Who's that left?
Chair,
Bill?
it's one of the objectors, Val Bott. She's left.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Right. So are we all ready then? Yep. Not had anybody say no. Right. We've considered all of the things mentioned in the hearing, and we've reached a decision. We've accepted the police conditions, with the exception of the opening hours and supply of alcohol there, and I will give you what our what we require as far as that is concerned. But everything from 1 through to 11 that was put in the police report, we accept. However, on the hours, what we're saying is that the opening hours should be 8 a.m. until 8 a.m. until dusk, and we put in brackets 22:30 being the latest. We assume that would be the latest period during the course of the year. Obviously, there's earlier times in the winter, but that's the summertime. So those hours is how we've expressed it. Open at 8 a.m. until dusk, and then 22:30. Supply of alcohol from 10 a.m. until 30 minutes before dusk, no later than 2200. So that's the entirety of our report. So I thank you all very much for your attendance. I'll tell you, you've got that you do have the right to, everybody has the right to appeal within 21 days to the magistrates if they're not happy with our what we've done. And there will be a decision in writing within 5 working days. Kate, is there anything you wish to add to that?
No, Councillor, you've covered everything. So you'll get a copy of the written decision notice, as Chair has confirmed, within 5 working days, and the 5 working days starts from tomorrow. Thank you.
Right. Okay.
Thank you all.
Yep. Thank you all, and wish you a good night, and please keep safe.
And you, thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
night,
you.
all.
Good night. Thank you.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody. Good night.
Good night.
You're still with us, Karen.
I just thought, don't we normally wait until recording stops?
I don't know when it stops. We probably do, but I don't know.
I'm attempting to stop recording now, and it's not stopping. So no, just leave whenever you want.
Okay, so
Okay,
then
fair enough.
you'll end up
Thanks
with a
very
blank
much,
screen
councillors.
on the recording.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
good
you.
night then, Karen.
Good
Be
night.
careful, be safe.
And you. Good night.
Right, good night, Bill.
Thank you.